Welcome, people. So basically, I've been saying to my better half recently about um, watching some older films, reviewing some older films that I really enjoyed when I was much younger, and I know she's pretty into some of this fantasy, science fiction stuff, which is a bonus for me. And one film I haven't watched for a while, but I wanted to review, was a film called Enemy Mine. And basically, we put it on the other night. Um, man, I couldn't believe just how much she actually really got into it. But yeah, the basic plot is sometime in the future, the humans are out colonizing the stars and expanding the territory. And obviously, after finding new planets and resources to exploit, and they bump into an alien race called the Drax, and basically they just don't get it. Well, basically there's just no communication between them. They don't understand each other. They haven't even attempted to, you know, try any diplomatic routes. Anyway, Will Gabbage, he's a star pilot based on this space station, and the call comes in, enemy ships spotted, so they scramble to intercept, and yeah, firefight ensues, and basically he's determined to take this enemy ship out, and he manages to shoot it, damage it, but the craft launches its escape pod, and in the aftermath of that, they actually get hit by his damaged spacecraft, and in the process killing his co-pilot. So, because they're near to a planet, the escape pod from the alien ship, the Drax ship, is obviously heading down towards the planet, and now his ship that's heavily damaged also goes down, and is totally wrote up in the process, but damage survives, and you can see the smoke from the enemy craft, and he determines that the escape pod or whatever is going to be close by, so he's seeking a bit of revenge, makes his way there, but at this point he's also hungry, dehydrated, and exhausted, and he spots the Drax, and well, Drax tries to. I think he spotted the weapon on the ship. Anyway, it's booby trapped, and that goes wrong. But then, they find out this planet is cursed with horrendous bad weather, meteor showers, and that. And basically, David, they can't understand each other, but he sort of tries to communicate, saying, "Look, we're better off working as a team and trying to survive together." Now the Drax is the one who's got the weapon, the laser pistol or whatever. So he gets carrying all the stuff, and they make a hut that is basically no good. Once these meteor showers come, you know. Um, but at some point, because obviously they need to hunt for food, he notices like these big sandpits and these little, they look like large um what do you call them, maybe wood lice or whatever, like falls into one, and the creature grabs it, drags it down, eats it, but discards its shell. And at some point, anyway, that David discovers, thinks, this is really hard. Let's make a shelter out of this. Anyway, during the course of this, days go by, weeks go by, whatever, they start learning a bit of each other's language. Mostly, the Drax is learning English predominantly, but yeah, they start getting on, living together, hoping that they'll be rescued. Um, and I just love the development and the friendship. It starts off the enemies, then they become basically like companions for the sake of survival, to getting to know each other and finding out that actually they've got more in common than what you'd ever think. And they end up becoming really good friends. Um, Anyway, at some point, David's, he's like, we're never going to get rescued. He decides to go off and try and find help or whatever. And what he does come across is basically human rubbish and the skeletons of dead Drax. Um, like, and I might be getting a bit ahead of myself here, but yeah, at some point he goes back to the Drax that he now calls Jerry, and things aren't going too well for Jerry, and it turns out Jerry's pregnant. It's one of them races that it's called like Aphrodite or something, male or female can give birth, and there's some complication, and Davidge basically, thinks he's going to be like a bathing partner or whatever, but unfortunately Jerry dies in the process. But before this happens, Jerry makes him promise like he has to recite his lineage, because for him to be considered a true Drax, he has to stand on the home planet and recite their lineage. And David learns all this, makes the promise, and then obviously Jerry dies. It's an upsetting moment for him. But he's got the little Drac baby, and the 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 shelter that they did build, unfortunately, one of them sandpit monster things happens to turn up one night, and yeah, they can't live there no more. They managed to get away and find some caves. Anyway, he buries Jerry. He's now got the baby Drax, which the name's Armies, and they're living in the caves, and they're actually, I think it's given Davidge a new sense of purpose. He treats the boy as his own. The Drax is his own, he's like his own child. The Zarmies calls him uncle. And then one day he sees the ship, and he's instantly the slavers that are enslaving Drax, and he says to Zarmies, you stay away from that area. Anyway, Zarmies, being young and naive, and curious lad. He goes out there, sees some of his own people, the Drax like, but unfortunately, the human slavers capture him. Like, anyway, when David finds out about this, he goes to try and do something about it, and gets seriously injured in the process. Anyway, the people in the space station that thought he was a goner eventually come down and find him, and they think he's dead, and they're going through the process of disposing of the dead. When I think the guy's processing it, say something about just check it to make sure he says who it is, and they notice something around his neck, and then at that point, David sort of grabs his hand, and they realise he's alive, and on top of that, they're rushing him to medical, and he's speaking in the Drax language. They're like, oh my god, this guy knows Drax. Anyway, David, he's determined. He goes down to the planet with or without the help of his comrades to rescue his armies. And rescues him, takes him home, and then it just finishes by, it's actually narrated by Tom Baker, the guy who played one of the doctors on the Doctor Who. What he said, Zarmis was able to stand in front of his people and recite his lineage, thanks to David, rescuing him and bringing him up and learning what he could from Jerry, and then this obviously also starts the process of humans and Drax opening dialogue together and starting diplomatic means and stuff, and it's a lovely little film. I especially loved the bit where you keep hearing Jerry reciting stuff and whatnot about some book and that, and you realise it's basically just their version of the Bible or the Quran. Like I say, it's one of the ways in which it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, you can always find some common ground, and that. The special effects, very dated, but I mean, it was released in 1985. But I just loved the interaction between David and Jerry, and then later on between David and Zarmis. It's a tale of like survival and friendship and overcoming hostilities. And I think it's a well overlooked film. I believe it was another one that, like I made a video about Krull, how, they had a lot of trouble filming it and it lost a lot of money. And I believe Enemy Mine suffered a very similar thing, basically. They had all sorts of trouble with the practical effects and whatnot. And things going wrong on set and whatnot, and went over budget, and then lost a lot of money. And it's a shame because it's an absolutely great film. You see these really CGI driven movies these days, and people don't seem to be in any real environment, whereas these are on this planet, and they don't go overboard and making it all wonderful and fantastic. It's just a planet. It can be anywhere on England, just a bit different, but it's believable, the environment they're in and how they adapt to it. Quite, makes it just seem like sometimes simplicity can be, more can be less. And it is, there's not a massive cast. For most of the film, it's just simply Will Davidge and Jerry for the great part. But whenever you see them two interacting, you just can't help but listen to them talking and how they interact. I think it's brilliant. Yeah, so if you haven't seen it, people, it's what I consider an oldie but a goodie. Give it a go. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good day. Peace.